Go ahead and call our work session to order. I'll start off with the review of tonight's agenda, pausing for any questions. It's not a work session, it's an urban renewal board meeting. But I will pause as I review tonight's city council meeting agenda later. So if anybody has any clarifying questions, they can ask those. I'll ask for any proposed changes to tonight's agenda. Is there anything that we think we're going to talk about during that time? Okay, then we have public comment. Has anybody issued any public comment either online or here yet?
No, Mayor.
And I don't believe we had any last time for a response, correct?
No, there was no comment last time.
All right. Consent agenda. We then have the city council meeting minutes from the August 19th meeting, the approval of the IGA with DLCD for the housing production strategy, and contract approval for the water management and conservation plan update. Is there any conversation or questions before we do that tonight?
Well, I wish we didn't have, I get nervous about the Eco Northwest folks doing this because they're kind of the authors of the whole process, but we're stuck with them. I guess at this late point.
Yeah, and we can have further conversation on that too. All right, so proclamations. We have the Sandy Area Chamber of Commerce for their 75th anniversary. Then we have a couple resolutions tonight dealing with our transportation system development charge methodology and rate update. Our first resolution 2024-17 will be actually adopting the methodology. And then we'll have a public hearing on resolution 2024-21, which is adopting the actual rate. Is there any questions about that process or anything before we get into that tonight? Okay, under old business, we have the design for Meinig Memorial Park improvements and restoration. I see that there's a community event coming up on that. And then under new business, we have the contract award for Deer Point Park Development Phase 2. Declaration of the city council vacancy for seat number 5. As well as an adoption of the process to fill the vacancy for city council seat number 5. Any questions clarifying for new business? All right, well, we'll round off the evening per normal with a report from our city manager and our committee and council reports. Getting back to our urban renewal board meeting. Jeff, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Board Member Maiden.
Present.
Board Member Smallwood.
Here.
Board Member Sheldon.
Here.
Board Member Walker.
Here.
Board Member Hokinson.
Here.
Board Member Jones.
Excused.
And Chair Pulliam.
Present. Thank you, Jeff. With that, new business. Oh, no, we've got I always want to skip those start.
We're at a quorum.
Approval of the minutes from the August 5th meeting. Unless there's a conversation about it, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Board member Sheldon made a motion to adopt the minutes. Board member Hokinson seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nays. Motion carries to new business. Here we go. Grandma's House Child Care Tenant Improvement Grant. Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Or Board Chair, whatever you prefer.
Other names too.
Let's see. That thing popped over my. Okay. There we go. Okay, so this is a tenant improvement grant, not to be confused with a facade improvement grant for Grandma's House Childcare. The second item you'll be reviewing tonight is actually under the facade grant program guidelines. This one's under the tenant improvement grant program guidelines. So a lot of the guidelines kind of overlap, but just to remind you, they're kind of for different things. The tenant improvement grant is primarily for the interior of structures, with the exception of playground areas for childcare. Those can be indoor or outdoor, whereas the facade improvement grant guidelines are purely external for buildings. So just to remind everybody. So just to remind everybody where the location of Grandma's House childcare and preschool is located. It's on Hood Street to the south of the Cedar Ridge Middle School between Beers and Bluff. And it's identified with the little red arrow there on the Google Earth map.
I'm sorry, I just want to back up real quick. Quick question. Is for childcare facilities, playgrounds for childcare facilities,
Correct.
not any playground for any type of.
That is correct. Yes, good clarification. The proposed amendments, it's mainly playground upgrades, as I just said. So the first 4 bullet points list the different playground upgrades that would be occurring at the site with this grant. And the 5th bullet point lists a separate thing in the playground area to fence the small children from the older children, and then also to separate the playground from utility boxes. And the 5th bullet point is a requirement from the state of Oregon. That's my understanding. You'd have to ask the daycare operator who is in the audience tonight for additional information on the requirements around that. But my understanding is the 5th bullet point is a requirement from the state of Oregon. The existing playground does have some play features. I would say that they're primarily either homemade or playground features you would typically see at a residential property. I'm sure they take quite a bit of abuse from the amount of children that are at this childcare center, more so than, you know, if you had just 2 kids playing on them a day. So it would be upgrading what you see currently in these pictures to more robust playground equipment that'd be more suitable for a commercial daycare center. This is a site plan that was provided by the applicant that shows the building so the bottom of the screen is south of the building. So Hood Street would be to the north of the building where it says site scale plan. And then these are where the different features that they're proposing would be located on the site. Again, if you want more information on these different features, I would ask the applicant. The request is for $12,337, which is 50% of the total project cost of $24,675. As a reminder, these tenant improvement grant requests can be up to $30,000. So if you remember recently, there was a restaurant which was also eligible for the project, which had a request of 60, I think it was like 66,000. And the max was 50% of 60, so they got a $30,000 grant. This one is 50% just like that, but because it's below 60,000, it's 1-for-1 with the dollars that they would be putting forward to it. As a reminder, the biennium budget allocated for our grant programs in the Urban Renewal Agency is $400,000. And to date, we have allocated just under $171,000. So we have about $229,000 remaining for grant programs. And so if you were to award this grant tonight, this would take you down to just under $217,000. And with that, staff recommends approval as it creates a more suitable playground, as I said earlier in the presentation. And we think it's a good fit. We don't have many commercial daycare centers in Sandy. I think we currently, I believe, have 2. There might be a third one that I'm not thinking of, but we definitely have at least 2. And so I would hate to see one of our only commercial daycare centers not have the suitable playground equipment for the children here in Sandy. So staff's recommending approval. And I will escape and stop sharing. And that's all I have.
Any questions for staff on the presentation?
I just had a question. Last time I wasn't, I think you weren't sure whether there was going to be any changes to the front yard.
Not with the grant request that I'm aware of, but they can speak more to it. Julie, you wanna
Give me that.
speak? Yeah, that'd be great.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I get nervous, so sorry. Yes, we are making some upgrades to the front of our building to make it more presentable for, more people to come and realize that we are a childcare center.
But that's not part of this
But
request.
it's not like
No, we're
play
not.
space, right?
Yeah, no, we're not asking for any of the grant to go to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
While you're there, I do have a couple questions. I'm guessing you may not know, but how long is your lease for?
Our lease is for 10 years.
And how many children do you support, or
We have-
how many can you have there served?
56.
And this does this change that or leave us constant?
No, this will be the constant, yeah.
Okay, so with or without this, you're still at 56, so it's
Yes.
improving the quality for the
Yes.
56.
Can you take me through the slide about the fencing,
The fencing.
the state requirement versus?
Well, right now, we have to separate the toddlers from the or from the preschoolers and the kindergartners that we have. So, they are requiring us to put a fence along there. So that way the children can't get over, the little ones can't get over to where the big climbing structures are at.
Why doesn't that exist now?
We do have a little gate there, but, at this time, I just can't afford to get a bigger one in, like I would like to do.
Yeah, sure, I
Yes, please.
yeah, if it's a requirement, I'm just curious, and because I'm gonna back up too, just so you know, I'm just curious how we've been. Cause I had a conversation with someone that was like, yeah, the state's really hard on these playgrounds, right? So how did you even get the exception to start with?
Well, we have, you want to say it? We have a little gate there now, but the little ones know how to open that gate.
Yeah, they're a lot smarter than you
Sure.
would
We
think,
give them
and
credit for it.
yeah, and we're doing the best we can to like secure it, but you know, some of these kids, they're smarter than the parents that come by to pick their kids up, so it's like.
Yes.
You're dealing with highly intelligent kids who know how to open things.
Yes.
The state had made an exception for you guys to open to be able to have a playground that wasn't. But
Yes, she just came out a couple of weeks ago and said that I needed to replace or a couple of months ago, and said I need to replace the gate that we have here now, fence. It has to be a bigger fence.
thank you. Any other questions? Sorry, while they're up here, did anyone have any other questions for the applicant?
I'd like to revisit kind of the conversation we had last time a little bit, and maybe have us, I understand you've been at a couple of 2 or 3 different locations.
Yes.
Can you tell me the growth or the opportunity or what led you to here? And-
Well, the first building that we got into was by Smoky Hearts, in the movie theater in Sandy. And we just outgrew it. We could have 20 children in that building, but we could only have preschool, 3 years old to 12-year-olds in there. And we had a lot of parents contacting us, asking for us to take in lower children. So that's why we moved. We moved to the one here on Pioneer Boulevard. That one had mold in it, so we had to close that center down. And we waited for this center to be built for us.
Gotcha, okay. That helps
It's
the
a nice
context of the
facility.
understanding.
Yep.
It's a great facility.
So you've gone from 20 to 56 in
Yes.
those moves.
And still want, and we have a waiting list. So,
Thanks.
So is there a reason why the current business model doesn't pay for the playground?
pardon me?
But why doesn't your current business model let you charge your clients and consumers? Why don't you take that and reinvest it in your business?
We are reinvesting
Yeah,
a lot. of
they've
it.
invested a lot as it is, so it's, I mean, what you see with the playground right now, they just had that part of it rebuilt. Yeah, and we've got amazing teachers, a lot of them have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, high quality teachers. So,
You put in that ground surfacing?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, the mulch on the ground,
Is that what-
yes,
yeah.
yeah. We got rid of the wood chips because the children were, getting splinters and stuff from them, so we got rid of the wood chips and just put mulch in
For that?
for the children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Further conversation,
Discussion?
discussion? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this.
Well, I've
Leading
been waiting.
leading the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. From our conversation before to this conversation, I like the growth from 20 to 56 because it is, to me, that offsets the negativity of taking a grant and moving and taking a grant and moving. So feel better about that.
I think it's a good project and it fits within the parameters of the existing application, so. Like Kelly said, we've only got a couple commercial childcare, so
Yeah.
I think it's a good project.
I'll express, my problems with the project, I think you offer a wonderful service to our community. I just don't see that we're getting more children into childcare opportunities, right, with this investment. That is something that I would want to see, like, we're to your point, we grew the childcare, but we've invested and been a partner to get that growth,
Right.
right? And in this, I'm just not seeing that growth in capacity.
Right.
I also, it's just for playgrounds or just for childcare facilities, and that's because we're trying to bring childcare facilities online.
Mhm.
You have the state requirement with the childcare facilities for these playgrounds, so I get all that, but
Right.
you know,
So
children, but real quick, children are gonna go in there and they're gonna have their childcare experience. And they're by far gonna have a better experience as a result of having a better playground, right? But where that comes to me is like, it's the responsibility of the city to try to find opportunities for good quality childcare. Like, are we in the business of helping a business like McDonald's so that those kids have a better time on the playground at McDonald's? Or is it McDonald's responsibility to offer a better playground for their customers? And so there's a bit of a philosophical deal for me on this as well. And that's all I'm gonna say about this, and that those are some of my problems with this and just how it matches up. And I still don't know how it matches up. We had this conversation last time. I agree it fits the definition of what can for tenant improvement, but I don't believe it matches up with the goals of what we have set as an urban renewal board for what we want to get out, at least in recent years. Out of the urban
So let me ask the question differently. If they'd have come up when they were first contemplating moving to this building with this grant, would we have approved it? I think we would have.
I would have. Yeah.
So there's a part of me that says that's how it should have been done. But we don't always communicate all the tools, and maybe the finances weren't even there to do the match and so forth. So part of me in this, because of the newness and everything else, I can overlook that, the timing, and say that we would have done it had it been on that front end. Because it does meet that goal of childcare. I mean, it was Bethany, right? Is that?
Mhm.
Yeah, so she was before my time, but she gave me an earful when I was coming on the council. And I feel like I haven't really championed that much. Just feels like if she were here, she'd be giving us all an earful, I imagine.
And I kind of argued this last time, is that it does fit that model. And if, to your point, if I was approving this when they moved there, I would have said yes then. I
Right,
would say yes now, because I do think it improves the experience of the existing children. And I think it allows them to elongate that lease so that it continues to provide for those children over the course of the entire lease. And I think that it does support local business in Sandy, which is what that purpose was meant for. I do think we could strategically change goals
yes,
to make it more stringent in the future, but under this circumstance, I think this is something that I absolutely would support and thinks it helps a local business and a local community with an industry that we need a lot of help with.
Put your hand up.
I would kind of compare this, I kind of appreciate all the points that have been made. I kind of look at this like our structures that we did for all the restaurants and how we were willing to buy benches or picnic tables or, all the seating in addition to the structure itself. And so, since this is kind of so soon after the fact that, it's a fairly new building and all, I can see, approving these structures that are kind of part of the building and the business. So I would support it.
but I see your point, and it's definitely something we want to be careful of, and it becomes a maze. Point, we want to come back and revisit the goals and make sure
I
we,
think you're gonna nickel and dime this sucker, but it's fine.
it is possible.
And you got the business plan you were hoping for today, Rich?
Yeah, no, not exactly.
I didn't think so.
But I think we need to have a little bit to Chris's point, Chris, I think kind of in specific regards to this, I am concerned about nickel and diming this fund. And I think, I'm hoping that in the very near future, we can have a holistic conversation about directions for urban renewal bonds as a whole. And maybe even to start to look at even our tenant improvement program, facade improvement program, all of those. And see if that's the way we want to continue, or if these smaller projects, if we need to look at the larger projects to use these funds on, because I think we're coming to a crossroads. And $12,000, I don't think is gonna
I guess
change that, but I do think we're coming at a crossroads of, with this fund of where are we going direction wise?
Yeah.
So. Fine, and I'm stepping off of this proposal. And I'm just saying that, I'm asking some of you to just reflect on your time on council. How many years you guys have been here? 4 for some of you, 6 for others.
1.5.
A little less for others, right? And I would just say that we've continually asked our staff, me included, for that meeting that you're talking about. I think probably year 1, you would say that you've had that request in that conversation, right? Haven't we all been asking for that, me included? We've not gotten that. And yet we have continued to approve these projects nickel and dime for 4 years, for some 6 years, for others, year and a half. So, you know, I'm stepping off here in a couple months. You guys get to keep, some of you, right, get to keep going on this. I would just implore you as a resident of this community to ask staff to actually do what we've been asking them to do, or to stop approving the projects.
Well, I thought
It's a
your
fair point.
covered
Yeah.
structures was a brilliant,
Oh, I appreciate
you know, and
Thank
it
you.
was kind of more than nickels and dimes. I mean,
Yeah, but that was ARPA money. That was not, okay, it was ARPA money that we used urban renewal for, knowing that we could reimburse the urban renewal fund for later on.
Yeah.
So,
We ready?
ready to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the $12,000 dollar plus for the playground structures at Grandma's Daycare.
Second.
Motion by board member Walker, a second by member Smallwood. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
We want pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll give you pictures. Thank you so much.
I'll get to you with a grant agreement, so don't do anything until I do that, okay?
You're gonna email that to me.
Next item.
You guys
And
don't
you're
have-
not, and feel, you're more than welcome to stay. You're also, you're not gonna hurt anybody's feelings if you want to get home. Thank you.
Have
Thank
lots
you
of-
for
I'm sure there's more
Lots of
entertaining
kids.
things to do with
That's
your
right.
evening.
That's right.
So, thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you so much.
I just say thank you so much for approving that, because this place is, it's a great place, it's got great teachers, it's got great community. And even though we are at capacity and you might feel that this money isn't gonna help improve, there's still room for growth for second businesses, second locations. This is how dedicated we are to this business. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Back to you. I'm working on it.
Yep.
Takes a second for everything to move, and then this dang Zoom thing gets in the way every time. Okay.
While I was doing that, Jeff, I can't get the link to open up on the facade program that's on the hyperlink that's on the.
Yeah, I noticed that. I
Didn't work on the
replaced
other
it
one.
during the meeting. Can you try refreshing? Sorry about that.
Okay, so this one is the opposite of the last one in the sense that this is a facade improvement grant. So for the exterior of the building, although this one's for a door, so kind of, I guess you could argue partially interior as well.
Space between.
Yeah, it's where the outside meets the inside, I guess. So why is this not moving? Okay, there we go. So just to remind everybody, Mountain Hood Cigar is on Kate Schmidt, off of Kate Schmidt's Avenue, 2 doors down from the DMV, kind of behind Taco Bell, where this little red arrow is pointing. It was located, just if everybody remembers, over where Domino's Pizza is now located, and it moved in the last 4 or 5 years. So this one, they're asking for one thing, which is to install a metal framed glass panel door on the west elevation, facing the deck, which was approved with, or no, not approved, sorry, which was partially funded with urban renewal money a few years ago, I think 2 years ago. So this one's basically allowing patrons that buy their cigar or whatever else they might buy in the establishment to go out to the deck that they had built within the last 2 years to smoke the cigar, essentially.
The deck was built for the same company. The grant was for the same.
For the
Deck was
same
for the same-
recipient, yeah.
same recipient.
So the grant for the deck was the same owner that currently owns Mountain Hood Cigar.
Okay, thanks.
That's correct. This is what they sent me. It's gonna be a smaller version of this. It's not gonna be this large.
With fire
Um,
codes.
this is actually a fire station somewhere else, but this was actually a sample from the door manufacturer on somewhere else that they installed a similar door. This door in this photo has more panes of glass than the one that would be proposed at the mounted cigar shop.
I just want to be clear, though, right? So like, they actually called a manufacturer of the door, like this is where they're buying the door from.
Correct.
This is a picture from their website. Like they didn't just Google image garage door and
This is
send
from-
this to our city planning department.
This is from the pamphlet for the garage door manufacturer.
Thank you.
Yes. This is taken, actually, they didn't send me this picture. They sent me the pamphlet from the door manufacturer, and this is from the installation guide.
Great.
I just took a snippet out of it. And then, as you can see, if you've been in there, which I actually have not, but if you've been in there where kind of by where the arcade games are located and where this seat is, that's where the glass panel door would go. You can kind of see three people sitting out there, so that's the deck I was just referring to. And so I'm assuming they'll move all that stuff. And then that's where the door would be located. Board member Hokinson asked me a question. Actually, I'll answer it here before the meeting, and that's, does the door fit into the Sandy style
And
design regulation or not?
the reason for the facade grant in the first place.
Yeah, so one of the, I didn't write this facade grant, it was my predecessor, so, and they've been modified over the years, but the majority of the eligible project items have been there for 16 years now, or 15 years. So the majority of them have not been changed. One of the items is modifications to exterior doors. And I think the original intention behind that was either to allow more exits in cases where there's not proper exiting for fire code reasons. Another reason was to allow for additional ADA entrance conversions. I don't know when they made this 15 years ago, because I didn't work for the city, if the intention was also for something like this. But the guidelines definitely don't say that this is not allowed. And then your other question was, does it fit Sandy style? I think you could argue that either way. We've had a few of these installed around the city under the Sandy style guidelines. The new fire station had them installed and it met Sandy style. The Johnson RV.
Trucks.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
born
But
breeding.
I'm just
Yes.
saying what was installed. The Johnson RV out on Highway 26 had very similar doors installed. They barely ever open, but they do open once in a while to allow RVs in and outs for their showroom. And there was a proposal at one point for one of these to be installed at the beer den. That kind of fell through. So I'm just letting you know, there's been cases where this has been allowed under Sandy style. Does it fit what Sandy style was intended for? Probably not. I mean, these doors are more of a, what would you say, kind of a newer thing in the last
Contemporary.
30 years.
Contemporary.
Yeah, more of a contemporary architectural feature. They started showing up in cities like San Francisco and Washington DC like 30 years ago at cafes and breweries and stuff. And we're gonna see more of them showing up. They're not going away. So yeah, that's kind of my explanation for that. Does it exactly fit Sandy style to a T? No, because Sandy style wants stone base for the first 36 inches. However, these windows that are installed in this building don't fit that either.
Yeah, I have lots of questions and issues with this one.
Okay, well, let me get through. I only have 2 more slides. So the request is for $4,125. Unlike the tenant improvement program, just to remind everybody, this is kind of like a tiered. This grant has a tiered payout or a tier match. So out of the first 5,000, we pay 4,000. And then out of the next 45,000, the urban renewal agency pays 50%. So that's how, so basically the urban renewal agency would be paying the majority of this project, since the project total is only 5,250. Again, I won't bore you with the exact details, but I just have the same information on the bottom of the slide for how much is in the biennium budget and how much you've spent so far. And of course, the 229 is now around 217. And then you know, I'm recommending approval. You know, I will be very honest on this one. You know, these grant programs put staff in a very weird place. Being honest to all of you, because we're supposed to be helping
They're not
businesses.
Clear and objective.
No, no,
criteria.
no. I'm saying we're supposed to be helping businesses. One of my roles is to assist businesses. That's what I'm trying to do here. They came to me. I said, you know, it loosely fits the facade grant criterion by being a new entryway. I'm recommending approval. I'll leave it at that.
Can I ask like a question for legality of it all?
Thank you.
So when you look up the ORS for smoking outside of business, smoking is not permitted within 10 feet of any entrance, exit, window, or air intake vent.
Did they just disable?
How are they going to comply with that?
So how I would answer that is we don't regulate that.
Well, that's fair, but I don't want to put money into something that
No, and
doesn't follow the regulation.
And I'm saying as a board, you shouldn't be interested. I'm saying as a staff member, that's not my purview, is to see if people are smoking too close to entries. So
Yeah,
that,
I'm just wondering how they even comply with the law.
I would disagree. If
I don't know.
something was put, if we were paying for something and that didn't meet the ADA requirements or something, that would.
we enforce the ADA. We don't enforce smoking regulations, just like my department also doesn't enforce liquor sales. That's the police department, so I wouldn't get involved in
So,
that.
not trying to blame you,
No.
but didn't we approve a smoking deck for their clients to go out and smoke on?
No, we approved a deck,
Yeah.
is what we approved.
And they can smoke on that deck because it's more than 10 feet away from the front door right now.
And they
No,
can,
it's any
So when we
entrance,
put a
though.
slider in there, it may not.
There's no entrance on that side of the building.
Exit, window, or air intake vent.
None of those windows open. We also have pin.
Right, so as soon as you put this in there, you
As
got.
soon as
a
you put
problem.
it there, you're there though.
Yep.
Yeah.
so my point though is that when we approve a deck like that, we don't approve it for smoking or not smoking. We're approving a deck.
No, I get it,
Yeah.
I get it, but even when you described it to us and the staff, were, you know, you were going through your recap, you described it as a deck where the clients can go out and smoke. So,
And this grant's not for Mount Hood Cigar Company, or is it for it's actually for the owner of the building, right?
No, this grant is so the last grant you guys just approved, that was for the tenant. This grant is actually for the tenant as well. It
Okay,
was the
so
tenant that applied, not Mr. Picking.
has Mr. Picking been notified of all this?
Mhm,
And so he's approved of this?
mhm.
Do we have that in writing?
I believe so.
When
I would have to look.
And then I guess. Not just this project, I guess I'm just thinking bigger picture these days is. What's the long-term vision that Mr. Picking has with that building? And it does, you know, does he want to completely remodel that building? And we've now invested new doors and staff into one of those locations. Do we have any idea what his long-term planning is?
One more question, facade, when I think facade, I'm thinking, yeah, you know, the visual front of it. Do we typically make them, I mean, that's not, it's on the, when I look at it, the deck's on the side of the building where it's really not even a visible facade. So it'd strictly be a functional piece to kind of allow people a more direct route out to smoke and arguably even allow a spot now I don't have to bother to walk out front where people might see me smoke and they can go smoke, I'm not as visible to not follow the rules. Do we normally approve? I don't know. I don't remember seeing a whole lot of stuff since I've been on here for non-visible facade stuff.
I mean,
Okay.
it's facing a right of way. So it's visible from the right of way, which,
You can see it from Kitchen.
yeah, and you can see it from the driveway at like Goodwill and everything else. So it is visible from a right of way. It's not the main right of way. Yeah,
so
and we have approved stuff on buildings that aren't visible from a right of way and just a parking lot.
I thought that's why correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we deny Payolas?
so you,
It's the server room, it'll stop.
Payolas was approved. So
Was it?
that got grant money for the stairs. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
It's a valid question. It's something that I think we've spoken about. You know, kind of offhand internally of like, is that really achieving the visual goals of the urban renewal agency if it's not visible from a major right of way? Kate Schmidt doesn't go anywhere once you
I
get
was gonna
past
say,
that
I don't
driveway,
consider
so
that the right of way.
it's visible from a right of way,
Fair.
not the main right of way. I think that's definitely a point that we can further discuss when we update the program guidelines going forward. As far as, you know, what is the intent? Do we want to be doing work on the back of a building that happens to be in the urban renewal district, so technically it's eligible, but no one sees it? Is that really the goal or the objective?
Well, I'm still stuck on that word
Discussion.
objective because you said staff recommends because it improves access to the seating. But when I read the program objectives, it simply states to improve the aesthetic appearance of the facade of an existing building and businesses in the urban renewal district. I don't think putting a garage door improves the aesthetic appearance, in my opinion.
I agree.
Number two is to restore the unique historic character of the building in the district as much as practicable. That's not happening.
Well, that building has no historical significance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And number three, to encourage private investment in the urban renewal district properties and business. So I'm gonna revert back to my question, is staff said they were recommending it based on the adding additional access to the seating. I don't see that in the program objectives. And when I look at eligibility, I also don't see that. So what is the basis of your staff's recommendation for it? Just because they're a local business?
Correct.
I'm not in support of this. Besides all of that I just said, it also would put us, I think, liable for approving a door where people smoke.
Exactly. That's my biggest fear, is
So-
that you're enabling something that's probably gonna be misused.
So I'm a nay.
Are kids allowed
And I love
here?
this business, by the way.
I don't know. I've never been in there.
I see a bunch of video, you know, not that I didn't play Frogger as an adult, but sure that's like dating me here. But
It's adults that put it.
I was gonna say, I don't
Not
think
mine,
my kids
but-
play those kind of.
Is there a motion to deny the?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we deny this request.
I'll second it.
A motion by board member Hokinson and a second by board member Baton to deny the request by Mount Red Cigar Company on the facade grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed nays. Motion carries. All right, see you on the agenda. We'll see y'all at 7 o'clock. We'll adjourn.